everybody, thanks for joining me today. I am hoping to share with you how I made my flag banner using the BES4 software. I'm really new at trying out how to do a screenshot video tutorial for all of you, so please be patient with me. I've already tried this a couple of times and I haven't had much success at getting through the whole thing. I had my youngest son show up in here a little while ago and he brought me a treat. He brought me some chocolate and I was in much need of a little quick break to have a piece or two. So that was really sweet of my son. So let's go ahead and get started on how I made this project. Let's switch screens here. We're going to go to this desktop here. Okay, so what I did first was take and measure my project, decided on the size that I wanted this to be. And one thing that helped me figure out the sizing for my stripes here was what size did I want this blue section to be. And I knew I wanted 3 stripes along there, and then that helped give me a guide as to what the rest of these stripe sizes were going to be. So whenever you start a project, take time to measure things out. Let's close that. Another thing I think is a good idea to do is select your hoop. If you don't know how to find your hoop, you're going to click up here, select hoop, and pick the hoop that's the size you're going to want for your project. This one here is a 200 by 300. Click apply and OK, and then you'll have your hoop there. This way here, you know the constraints of the size that you have to be able to design your project. If you start designing your project without a hoop there to maybe help you with the constraint sizes, you may end up designing something that won't fit in your hoop. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start closing all of these objects so that we can start from the top of our project and work our way down as to how I created this. And I'm really relatively new to this, so if you're a beginner out there, don't feel intimidated to, play with the software and try and come up with something. I'm mostly doing things that are with some lines and maybe some applique. I'm not making doing any digitizing of anything fancy because it's not something that's of really interest to me. Now, to start with, I knew that my first placement stitching was going to be 6 by 10 inches. In order to create that 6 by 10 inch placement stitch, what you'll do is go into the tools here and select this line tool, and then you just, let's close this one out that I made. You're going to then take that line tool and just press your left mouse key button to make, and it'll make a little dot, and then we're going to go over to here and select, and then I believe this is about 10 inches down. We're going to just go straight down and select, come back across here, select. Now, one thing I like to do is go ahead and zoom in my screen. Whoops. So that I can then make sure my next dot matches up here. Now, what you can do then is we're going to hit select. You can hit the edit shape tool so that you can make a little bit more precise placement. So I can move this right up here, move this one right up here, so that I know that I've got everything really nice and squared off. See, that's up a little tiny bit. We're gonna move that down so it's right at the angle here and in straight with that line. And then we'll come down. See how that line's just a little crooked? Bring that up. Brings that in. And you can see the sizing in this window over here. Let's go across over here and bring that all up in alignment. Okay. So this one shows 6.03 by 10.03. And if you want to, you can go ahead to make it even more precise. Just type in the 6 and we'll get rid of that 3 to make it an even 10. So we've got our 6 by 10 inch. Now this here is going to create what's called artwork. So it's really not going to do any stitching for you at this moment. What we need to do then is convert this to an applique. Now we just want straight stitches. We don't want a satin, so we're going to select run. And because this is the first placement stitch, if I want to, I can even make that stitch length line longer. So let's try a 4 and see how that works. And then we'll select apply. Okay, and then we've got a nice long stitch just for the placement. Now it'll make it an applique, and we're not doing an applique feature there. So now we're going to do is tell it to preserve as stitches, and then we can delete these first couple, and then we're left with our last one here, which we'll then show it as stitches. Okay, so we have that set as just our first placement. Now the next thing we're going to do is create this box here, which is the placement line that's going to hold down this entire piece of red fabric right there. So again, what you would do is your line stitch. And I'm just going to leave this one open just for a guide, but you're going to then, again, click with the left and make a dot, another dot, go down to as long as you want that to be, and a dot, another dot, and then we're going to come up and we're going to then join those two together. Let's close this one so you can see the one we've just made here. Okay, and again, you can select this, you can use the edit shape tool, and you can adjust that to straighten that line out to make it nice and straight, and line these two up so that it's going to stitch nicely. And you also want to do is make sure that this stitching line is in alignment with this one here. See how that's going to be a little out, so we're just going to bring that in and bring this one. So we've got our line. As you can see, it's 6 inches, and I know I want it to be 0.87 wide. Let's zoom that in a little so we can see. Again, it's going to make it artwork. We need to select that and convert to applique. Make that a run stitch again. And I'm not going to change the stitch length because I want that to hold that fabric securely. So we're going to select apply. Now we've got applique. With this, we're not doing traditional applique, so we're going to tell this with the right click, preserve as stitches, And then we're going to delete and delete. And then we're left with, if we open that up, stitches. The artwork will not stitch, so you have to go through the process of converting it to applique and then converting that to stitches. Okay, I'm going to change the color of this just so it stands out right there for me a little bit. Now the next thing is we've got another stitching line that's going to go right on top of this one. What that is the stitching line for actually holding that white piece of fabric in place, because this white piece is going to be laid down on top of this one upside down, then stitch down, then you'll fold this white piece back and press it. So that is the next line that we are going to want to create. So how you're going to do that is, again, your line tool. Go ahead and zoom in some. Also, the direction of how you start your line is going to be the direction that your machine's going to want to stitch. So I'm going to want to start this up here and then just bring this down. Oops, going the wrong way. To here. So by zooming in, I'll know that I'm getting it in the right place. Again, this is now artwork. We're going to convert to applique, convert to run, apply. We're going to right click, preserve as stitches, and then delete the first one, delete the second one, and now we just have our stitch line. And I'm going to make that one a purple one just so that we can see it there. Okay? And then we're going to need a couple more of those. So as you look at here, we're going to need one here to stitch this red one in place. Then we're going to need another one to hold that red piece in place so that when we make this piece, none of these are going to move around. So we need two more of these. Now, instead of having to go through that whole process of converting to applique and to stitches, we're going to select this, right click on your mouse and say copy, and right click again and say paste, and voila, we've got one done. And then select paste again, and we've got another one done. Quick and easy. Okay, so then we're going to do is now make the stitch line that goes across here. What's we'll do is have this blue piece of fabric will be laying upside down on top of these three stripes. So we'll need to stitch across here to hold that in place. So let's select that. Now I know I want that to be, I think it's 2.57 inches. So I'm going to make my line. We're going to go up here. And you can decide here, you know, think again, which direction do you want your stitching to go? You want your stitching to go from this direction or this direction? So I'm going to put here and go across over to here. And let's select that. And it's 2.25, and I want it to be 2.57. So we're going to unselect both of those boxes, so I can now change this to 2.57, apply, and then you see it extended this out. Now if this one is artwork, we need to convert to applique, again, a run stitch, apply, and again, preserve as stitches. Go down here and select, delete the first one, delete the second one, and then I just have my stitch line. Okay, and we're gonna adjust these other lines, their placements in a little bit later. But I do want to move this one so that, wonder here, you can zoom in, right, like right there. Okay, select. So now I can take this line here and line that up. And one thing I do know is I want that line to be just slightly below this one, so that when it stitches, this other stitching that I had previously isn't going to show up at all. Okay, so we've got that in place. Now the next thing we're gonna do is create a frame that's gonna go around here, because we're going to fold this blue piece of fabric back upright and press it in down nice, and we want all of this to not move, so we're going to make a line that's going to hold that in place. So let's zoom this down a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so again, we're going to go to our tools, get our line, and I want to have that start here and come up this direction and go around this way. So again, we can go over here. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. So I'm going to click right here, and then we'll go up to the top here. And let's see here. I don't want my line to be crooked, so. And I believe if you hold the shift key, that should help for the line to stay straight. And then we're going to zoom in to get this corner over here, and then come down and click right here. And again, let's zoom in, make sure we've got everything nice and straight. So select edit tool and say here, I need to bring that in just a little bit to make sure it's straight. And I know I need this box to be, 2.57 by 4 inches. And this is 2.58 by 4. So that is pretty close. And I've got that nice at the corner there. I'm gonna go across here, make sure we've got that nice and straight. Where did it go? I went too far. Okay, so again, we've got artwork that we need to convert to applique, make a run stitch, apply, and come over here, preserve as stitches. Select the top one, delete, the second one, delete, and we have our stitch that's now going to hold that blue piece in place. And you can see now, you know, this is really needs to come over here. Like I said, we're going to get all of these in alignment later. Okay, I had to take a quick little break. My sweet husband brought home some dinner for us. So let's see if I can pick up where I stopped and join the first half of recording with this next part here. What we're going to work on now is doing the stitching lines that are going to go from here down to here for all of these pieces of fabric across. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitching lines. So let's pick another color for this one just so that'll show up a little different for you. Let's go with this color. And then we're going to go to our tools and our line. And I know that that one has to go right over top here, so let's put that in position here. And then come down. And if you hold that shift key, as you draw a line, it should keep that nice and straight. And we'll select, and it's 10 inches, and I know it's 10 inches. If you didn't make yours quite 10 inches or whatever measurement it is that you need, remember you can always unselect the relative, unselect the maintain aspect ratio, and type in the size that you need. Okay, but I've got that the size I need. And if we go down over here, we want to, remember, convert that to applique, convert that to run, and apply. And then we're going to right click on there and tell it to preserve as stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and delete one of them and delete the next one. And there we have that line that we made. Okay, so we needed to have 5 of those. So we're going to right click and say copy and paste. And move one over a little. We can say paste and move this one over and paste and move over and paste one more. And I know that one goes on the very end here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. We can zoom in here, and not quite on, so let's move that over just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now let's start aligning some of these up. I'm going to go ahead and turn these off for just a moment so we can line these other lines up. So we're going to select these first 3 and then select this outside box. If you hold the shift key down while you do that, it'll grab all of them. And then we're going to select arrange, or we want a line. It's not doing what I want. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, and this one. Okay, there we go. So we've got those selected. We're going to align at the bottom there, okay? And I'm going to we're going to then just select these 3 and adjust them. So we know this one needs to align here, and that one's already in alignment. So if we just select these 3, holding down the Alt key, or I can even, select these, holding down the Control key, I'm sorry. And then now we're going to say distribute horizontal, and those are evenly spaced. Let's turn this, the green ones back on. We need to either align them with the top or with the bottom of that placement stitching. See, we want them all even here. So let's take this one that's a little out of place. And I want to do each one individually, so we're gonna, there. Select this. This time we're gonna line it to the top, okay? Now, let's select these again here, and then tell it to distribute them horizontally, and they're all evenly placed. And now all of our lines are evenly placed across. I've had to do that a couple of times to make it work so you guys can see it. Okay, so let's see here. The next thing, I'm gonna look at my old stuff here where we are. Okay, so now we are at the point where we're gonna put these borders on. So we need to stitch this white one here in place and then this white one here in place. So let's make the stitching lines for that. We'll go back up to our tools, get our line. Let's zoom in here. Go to the top of here. Now I'm going to make this go just slightly beyond here and click my button on there and go just slightly beyond this one here. And if we hold that shift key, we know we'll have a straight line across. When we select, remember now, we're going to convert to applique, make it a run stitch, apply, and then we can zoom in here. Well, let's preserve it as our stitches. Delete this one, delete the second one, and now we can see if we've got our stitches lined up with each other. So we're going to move that on top of there just a little bit. There we go. And we can copy that one and paste that to go down here. Let's zoom that in. Put that on top here. You got to get it to where it shows those little finger things. There we go. And I might have moved it from the right to the left a little, so let's see. Yep. Get that back over there. So I'm going to go look on this other side to see how much it extends. I got room. I can slide that over just a little. Okay. If we get really close in here, see how this line here really can come over just a little more. That's why it gets important to zoom in. So let's check over here some. Let's zoom in some. It's really easy to just go back in and realign the lines if you need to. Because when you're zoomed out, it's hard to see if you've got everything just perfect. Okay, so we can select these stitches again. Hold that control key down, and we'll select them again and tell it again to distribute horizontal. See, and I moved them just a little bit. And if you don't get these things in alignment good, in the end, your project isn't going to stitch out just how you want it. So it's worth taking that extra time to make sure it's straight. Okay, now what we need to do is make the stitching lines. It's going to go from here down to here and from here down to here. So I'm gonna pick another color here, and then we'll go into our tools, get our line, and gonna start up here, hold that shift key so we draw a straight line down. select. Remember, we're going to convert to applique, change it to a run stitch, and apply. Then we're going to take that applique, right click, preserve as stitches. That first one we're going to delete. Second one we're going to delete. And then we have our stitch line. And I wanted that stitch line, let's look back at my original one here, was 11.6 inches. So let's go ahead and make that 11.6, apply. Now I want to make sure I have that right there on this line here. Oh, I have a kitten in here who's crying. Let's see, so I want to make sure I've got it centered, so it's right about there. Come down to the bottom here. That looks pretty good. So we're gonna right click, copy and paste, and move that across over to here. And we're gonna put that right on that end line. And it looks like those two are in good shape. Okay, the next item to do, let's look at my original here. Okay, we're gonna make the placement line, because what we've just done now is you've put this white piece down upside down and you've stitched this, folded it over, and then you've had this piece here, it's upside down, and you've stitched and you folded it over, and then you're going to place this that covers all of this here, and we've got that stitching line, and we fold that over, and this one is placed upside down, we've got that stitching line, and we fold that over. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a large basting box that's going to hold all of this in place, so that when we put the font in for, or the text in for this, it's not going to move that fabric around. Okay, so we want a nice large basting box that's going to hold all of that in place. We go to our line tool and go all the way out to the edge here and over to this corner, down to this corner, and let's zoom in here and zoom up, and then meet those. We'll select that, and I know I needed that to be 7 by 7 by 11.65. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to make that absolute 7.7 by 11.65 and apply. Okay, and then convert to applique, make that a run, apply. What are you doing, sweetheart? Come here. Okay. What's the matter, little one? Okay. We're going to take that applique and make it into preserve stitches again. Delete that first one. Oh, I deleted everything. Undo. Okay. Delete this one. delete this one. Now we're left with our outside stitch. That is going to hold those pieces in place. Okay, this is then where I typed in the text. So this is where you're going to go to the home and select your text. I'm going to just do normal. And there we go. And you've got all of these different font choices across from here that you can choose from. So I don't know which one I used for the project, but we're just going to go ahead and type something. Here, little one, you want to sit here for a minute? There we go. Let's turn this on. So you had home of the free and ... So, okay. So you've got your text and you just type home of the free. We can see that over here. Okay, go ahead and select whatever color you might want that to be, and you can then grab this little icon thing here and you can rotate that, get that straight, and then bring that down into place. Let's shrink this up some. So if you want, you can change the font size. You can go in here 0.6 and apply. Give that a moment to change. And you can see how it changes the font size. If that looks actually, it might be a little too big. So let's put that back to where it was. Okay, and then again, for the next set of text, BEC8, because of the brave, and that one I had in a red. Let's just pick this red here. That's good. And again, you can just rotate that. Whoops, rotate. Rotate that till you have it straight. Now you can see the two together is going to be, that's not going to fit. So let's change this to 0.50 and say apply. And I want them to both be the same size. So we're going to change this to 0.50 and apply. Now, you can also do, if you're not aware, when you click on this, you've got all of those little squares and diamonds. Oops, bring back. You can, come on, bring them back for me. Of course, now that I want them, they're not showing up. There. You can utilize this to help move your letters around. See, I can move them further or closer apart. You know, so sometimes some fonts will maybe space things a little different than you like. So you can grab that and you can move them around. But I like the way it was, so let's put that back where it was. Now, I want to have this pretty well centered here. So I want to make sure I get that little hand there and then move that over just a little. And I liked it off on that end some. So now we're going to go down to the other end here. Grab this one, that little hand, and I want to make this so it comes down about the same distance here as the other. And then what we can do to make sure that they're both gonna stitch out straight across. Okay, come on now. Let's select, use the control key and select both of them. And then we can go to the arrange and we can align it. I'm gonna tell it to align to the right, and then it should get those so that they're both lined up to make a nice straight text across the project. Okay. Now we should be ready to put our stars into our project. So if we go to the home, we're going to add design. Have you ever looked in here? We've got all kinds of wonderful applique shapes. Keep going down and scroll through. And you can even take parts of applique shapes. If you're trying to create something, you know, I can take the two hearts here, and maybe I only want this smaller one. I can delete the larger one. I noticed if you go through here, different hearts have got different shapes to them. Maybe I like this tree, but I want something other than a star on it. You can take the star and delete it, put something else in. So we're gonna use this star that's right there. And I'll go up here. Bring that in. And just with the left mouse, click down, drag across to about how big you think you want, and try and keep a straight line. And when you think you've got it the size you want, release the left mouse and you have got an applique star. Now that stitching for this little project is going to be a little wide. And you can go in here and you can change the width of the stitching. So if I want to, I can maybe make this say a 1.5 width and click apply. See how much narrower that stitching is going to be? So if that's something you like, you can leave it. You can also in here go to motif, and then there's lots of different motifs you can pick. So say I want something like this, click apply, and it'll change the applique to have this type of a stitching all around. And you can adjust that stitch length for it as well. Say I want a 4, see what that does to it. See, it makes changes, but let's just go back for this to make it simple. We'll leave it as a satin. Now what did I have my original one at here? It is the size 1.16, 1.21. Wow, I got it really super close to my original. Okay, so now what we can do then is let's put that in place where we may want that to stitch. Go ahead and decide, do you want to start your star here? What order do you want it to stitch them out? Because the order and where you put them is, so let's just copy this one and come on, paste it. There we go. And let's move that over here. So I like that. So now if we select this one, control, select the next one, let's do arrange and align, and let's align the bottom. So now they're in the same place evenly across the bottom. Now we can copy and paste and get the next set here. How about that? And then say paste again, and let's put the next set down here. Now let's line those up some. I like that. Now what we're going to do is select the star here, control key. I'm going to select this one, control key, select this one. This time we're going to align these to the left to make sure they're in alignment. I'm going to select this one, select this one, select this one, and we're going to align, let's say, those to the right. I like that. Okay, now we can keep those selected and tell it to distribute it vertically. And look at that. We'll go back to this one, select, control, select, control, select, and distribute vertically. Look at that. They're all nice and neat in alignment. Okay. Let me look back up here what else I had to do. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is create another basting box. Actually, we can use this one that we have here, because what I did on my project is I put 2 pieces of fabric down. So let's look at this. For the backing of this, I have like a half piece at the top and another half piece towards the bottom. You put them on top of the flag, stitch it around, and then you invert it. So you need to have that next placement stitch to hold all of that. So if we just select this one and say copy and paste, it's going to put it right on top, but it's going to be at the bottom here. And that's everything for this particular project. So just look at a design that you like and try and, look it over, figure out what elements you need. This one's really pretty simple with a bunch of lines, and the applique feature that the BES4 has makes it nice to add in some little extra elements. So hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Give me some feedback about what you think, and I'm hoping I can offer some more tutorials for you. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.